A terror arrest is putting the spotlight on student visas. Now, the 20-year-old man charged with trying to make bombs for attacks in this country entered the U.S. on a student visa from Saudi Arabia. Some say this door to America may look like a floodgate. Back in 2001, there were about 4,500 Saudi nationals here on student visas. Fast forward to 2010, that number is now 4 times higher, to 21,000. And now, with one under arrest for a possible terrorist plot, it raises the question, do we really know who is coming to America on student visas? Mike Barrett is a national security expert and a former intelligence officer with the Secretary of Defense, and he joins us with more. Thanks for joining us.
Afternoon. Thanks for having me.
So, Mike, student visas used by terrorists, it's significant, but it's not anything new. Obviously, 9/11, the hijackers. But let's talk about specifically following that event. 4 years after the Bush administration agreed to a request by King Abdullah to expedite visas for young Saudi men studying in the U.S., was that a bad move? Does that specifically need to be reassessed?
Well, I think specifically you have to look at the nature of the event here. So we know that there are loopholes in this because you never really know what someone's intent is. So once you make the decision that you're going to allow students to come to the country, that you're allow tourists to come to the country, that you're going to allow anyone to come to the country, you then are opening essentially a version of a loophole. And so the real issue is to think about, it's not so much that they come from Saudi Arabia because, we know that there are terrorist suspects that have come from Canada, that have come from the UK, that have come from Yemen, Pakistan. And there's a variety of countries. It's not about nationality. And I think that's important that we don't lose that in the coverage here.
Well,
as you indicated, there's...
Yeah, and on that note, let's take a look at some graphics that we have, some numbers from the State Department. For people's knowledge, more than 394,000 student visas, like the specific person we're talking about, were issued last year from all countries. As you said, to compare, Chinese nationals, they actually issued 115,000. Saudis, more than 21,000. Far less, but here's the point. That number has increased more than 4 times since 2001, far more than any other Middle Eastern country. So should we be concerned about that increase specifically?
I don't personally think that that's what we need to be concerned about, because I think the reality is you're getting a lot of people who are coming. I mean, frankly, it's a minuscule fraction that have actually been caught up in any kind of illicit or nefarious activities. And so, ultimately, if you think at least the rest of the people that are here from Saudi Arabia are actually coming over here, experiencing the American lifestyle, understanding the West in a better sense, I think ultimately that'll actually promote peace. That'll help, you see all the events that are going on in the Middle East right now. But I do think it's an important part to talk about, that accepting that we're going to have people here in the country, who are potentially going to be seeking chemicals or other weapons, and we have a lot of examples of lone terrorist activities, lone wolf terrorist activities in the last year. I think it's important to discuss the fact that suspicious activity reports and the fact that the private sector noticed that there was something wrong with this individual, and they brought it to the attention of the authorities. I think that's how we're going to keep the nation safe, as opposed to trying to keep everyone out.
And that is another good point. The suspect caught by an alert employee at a company in North Carolina, not because of the work of the FBI. So where is the breakdown? I know you also wanted to talk about something called biometrics, right?
Right. So I think one of the issues here that you recognize is, again, it's not about nationality. It's about intent to carry out a terrorist activity. And so what we need to know is positive control over individuals. And the way you do that through technology is called biometrics. So you have an ability to say, my name is this, and here's my proof of identification, and it's tied to either my fingerprints or my iris scan or one of these other technologies. We have the ability to do that, but we haven't had that discussion in this country about whether or not we're willing to do it. And I think if you start looking at some of the recent events like the Fort Hood shooting that we had, which was, again, an American citizen, you look at some of the other activities that have gone on. The individual who was thinking about blowing up a Christmas tree lighting ceremony out in Portland. There's any number of activities in the past couple of years where it's people who are here, whether they're on a student visa or even a U.S. citizen, that are conducting the activities of concern. And a quick point regarding the FBI, I don't actually expect them to stop the lone wolf individuals in advance based on the intelligence that can be received. The intelligence community is pretty effective against the large-scale groups. But when you start talking about the individual lone terrorist, it's going to be the state and local police, and hopefully with the help of the alert public.
Right. Everyone keeping your eyes open. Thank you very much, Mike
Absolutely.
Barrett. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.